Okay, this is going to be the single-handedly probably going to be the most valuable meta ads training you'll watch this year. Okay, I'm going to clearly break it down step by step on what you need to know, do, learn, literally everything revolving around meta ads to scale, specifically for your brand or client, whatever it is, right? Again, we work with over 300 clothing brands, been doing this for 4 years now, all right? So stories here, again, all of our brands, all of our clients, ROASes. You've probably heard the word ROAS, right? 4.7 ROAS for the past 16 days. 9.08 average, 6.94, 3.3 while scaling, spend 684, made 3K. Again, just endlessly scroll through my story highlights and some of the brands we work with. Pluto Golf, St. P, Patient Victory, Brimmer, Lonely Track, and Michonne. The list goes on. All right, cool. All right. Quite frankly, I am the best what I do. Why? Because I've created systems through the data by working with so many clothing brands and clients, right? And quite frankly, I've identified the main pillars, right? First things first, there are consistent / clear patterns why brands scales and others don't, right? By working with so many clothing brands, right, I've able to identify clear patterns, right, on why the brands scale, why they do, and why the brands fail and why they fail. Right. Number two is you gotta understand running meta ads is like a video game. Right. If you play it the right way and you spend enough time, you're going to win. There is no reason why you can't be profitable in running ads for brands or specifically for your brand. Right. Number three, people make the same mistake over and over again and they move into something else. Right. Meta ads work. It's just the way you position yourself and the way you angle yourself to actually operate the thing. Right. Which I'm gonna clearly explain to you how to do so, right, in this specific video. Literally just follow me in these steps and I can guarantee you, you are going to get sales meta ads, okay? I'm giving you that promise, right? I'm gonna go over 4 main pillars today. I'm gonna go over brand unit economics. So basically, obviously, running ads for a brand, we need to be in the position where we are profitable. We actually plan that before we start running the ads. So we work this out. We've also mentioned this on our previous video as well. So if you want to go in depth, watch it. Number 2 is the creative because this, quite frankly, makes 80% of the ad success, right? Like, you can have the best media buyers, but literally, if the brand creatives are shit, then your ads are going to be shit. It's that clear. Okay, you probably heard this, all right? Number 3 is the actual campaign structure for a brand who has never run ads. I'm going to clearly explain to you step by step on how to do it, what to set up, what creatives to use, everything, all right? And number 4, understand KPI, all right? Knowing what do we even know? How do we even know if the ads are doing well? What do we even do next after this first initial campaign structure? All that type of stuff, I'm gonna break it down, okay? Okay, brand unit economics, all right? First things first, we need to work out the ROAS, okay? Instead of working this out, I'm just gonna clearly just tell you what you need to do and what numbers we need to get your brand to before we run ads, all right? It's that simple. Get the brand break-even ROAS. So basically, a break-even ROAS, right, is anywhere between, I guess, a specific number we can measure if we see the ads are profitable or not. All right, so for example, let's just say, for example, your break-even ROAS is 1.5 and the campaign ROAS is showing 1.4. That means we're not profitable, right? Obviously, if they're showing 7, that means we're profitable, okay? So it's very important to clearly identify the break-even ROAS. And the reason why we need to clearly choose the right break-even ROAS in terms of product margin and everything is because when we're scaling, if a brand has a high break-even ROAS, then it's going to be super hard to scale. And quite frankly, scaling, you need profitability to put back in the business, right? So get the brand break-even ROAS to go from anywhere from 1 to 1.6, all right? Make sure your product margins fit that. If you don't know how to calculate it, DM me or watch my other videos, right? I'll show you how to do it, right? From your break-even ROAS, set the target ROAS. We actually look to scale your ads anywhere from 1.8 to 2.5, which is a very sweet spot for actually scaling, all right? The reason we identify a target ROAS in the first place is because everybody has different budget and cash flow they want to put back in the business, right? So it's important that we set the target ROAS first before we run ads so we know a specific number / goal to reach to put more money back into the ads, if that makes sense, all right? So that's the whole logistics of, I guess, setting the break-even and target. And ideally, the reason we have this break-even goal is so we can have this target goal, all right? For example, if the break-even was 2, right, we will need to set our target ROAS at 3.5, meaning, again, this is achievable, but it's going to be harder to scale because 3.5 ROAS, especially in the clothing industry, especially I guess, acquiring new customers, stuff like that, it's going to be very hard to achieve at a high scale volume. All right. So get your break-even ROAS to 1 to 1.6, and then your target ROAS to 1.8 to 2.5, and you'll be sweet to run ads. And logistically, the math is mathing, right? It makes sense. All right, let's go into pricing next. First things first, before we make any logistical, competitive analysis, just don't make your pricing dumb. And what I mean by that is, if you have a regular hoodie and you want to go down that luxury route, yeah, sure, you can, but you need to position yourself first and don't make it dumb. Literally, no one is going to buy a regular hoodie, right, from a brand that no one knows and has no social proof for $1,000, right? I've seen that, right? It's just dumb, right? And I'm not saying you can't start a brand like that, but we got to build it up to that reputation. The reason why Balenciaga, all that, those brands, they overcharge, we get it, but they're able to do that because they have the social status and they have the reputation, right? So first things first, don't make your pricing competitive, right? Make your pricing competitive, right? Don't be dumb, right? Number two is use logistical margin metric when developing the product price. I go over this in the video, previous video. Basically, differentiating your margins between a high ticket product so over $100 and then a low ticket product for under $100, right? Make sure they have different margins, right? Make sure the margins make sense in relation to actually getting your break-even ROAS, okay? I use a specific calculator. It's free. You just chuck in your numbers, AOV, it gets you the ROAS. So I'm going to send you that over as well, all right? Cool. Number three is realize that your hero product is going to have the best margins. So set your low ticket and high ticket products beside it, okay? So I'm just going to quickly explain to you what a hero product actually is, okay? Hero product is, quite frankly, the hero product, right? It's the main character of a story. It's the main character of a product that we want to utilize for ads in terms of scaling. Quite frankly, the hero product is what's going to contribute to at least 70% of the sales going to come from that, right? And the way we need to position a hero product to increase, in order to leverage the perceived value over cost, is basically setting low ticket and high ticket products beside it, right? Let me explain this process to you. So usually our hero product, you want to be a mid-ticket product. So anywhere, just like, let's just say mid-ticket is $100, for example, and we have a low ticket. So for example, let's just say this is a hoodie, right? And we have a low ticket product for, let's just say $40, right? So, and that's a hat, okay, hoodie. And then we have a high ticket product that sells for $400 for maybe a hoodie with a different design. You get the point, right? So we have a low ticket, mid-ticket, and high ticket product, right? What I mean by in order to leverage the perceived value over cost, right? It's basically literally just here, right? But the perceived value of the product, make sure it's over cost. This is super important because before people actually click on the ads, for example, you have a flat lay of your hoodie, right? In their mind, they already have the price, right? For example, if they click on an ad and it says 100, and then in their mind, they're probably thinking, oh, this hoodie is $80, right? And then it comes out to be 150. Their likeliness of them buying the product is now much lower. Vice versa, right? If they think the hoodie is $80 and it's actually $40, their likeliness of them actually going to buy the product is going to be higher, right? Because it's cheaper, right? That's how it works, right? So in order to leverage the perceived value of cost to justify this hoodie price, so we sometimes pair it up with a low ticket product and a high ticket product, right? Because again, if they like your brand, they're going to buy something from you. So we want to make them choose the middle one, and that's the one we want the best margins on, okay? Hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, just message me, all right? I'll help you out. So just to clarify pricing, just don't make it dumb, right? Just don't be dumb, right? Just make it competitive in your niche, all right? So if you see your other competitors price it as 10, for a hoodie for $100, then go around that, right? Make sure you check the quality as well. Make sure you match the quality and competitiveness as well, right? Number two, use logistical margin metric. Previous video. Number three, use your hero product. It's going to have the best margins, all right? Set it up like this, something like this, all right? Don't worry too much if you only have one product in your brand right now, just because, again, like, we can still sell it. Just make sure it has the best margins possible, right, for a mid-ticket product, okay? Cool. Okay, now we move on to the creatives, which is literally going to determine if your ads are going to be successful or not. I guarantee you, if your creatives don't match the quality, if it doesn't leverage different verticals, and if you don't have the volume for it, I recommend not even running ads and looking back at this part again to make it better, okay? I'm going to go into detail specifically on, I guess, what we sort of look for when we go through creatives, okay? First things first is the quality of the actual creative. This is super important because the more competitive the space is, we need to leverage it through the actual quality of the creatives, right? Again, three main things that I want to go over in terms of the actual quality, all right? Number one, lighting, all right? The lighting of the models, product, whatever it is, we don't want no shitty lighting, all right? Especially when we put it out to ads, we want to make sure it's your products, especially the color, the way it fits. We want to make sure it's represented the right way, all right? Number two is the actual product positioning, right? Make sure the product in every single raw creative we make, all right? I'm going to talk to you about the difference later, but every single raw creative we make sure the product is the center of it, right? We don't want the background taking over 90% of the creatives. Make sure the product positioning is in the center and is the main intention of the actual creative, right? Number three as well, the quality of the camera. Again, iPhone usually works. iPhone does the job, for most cases. But again, if you literally have an old iPhone, I want you to invest into a better phone. Okay, quality is important. Again, it showcases the actual product design, especially if you have a unique selling point of the product. Okay? It's super important. Cool. Number two is leveraging different verticals. All right, verticals, and quite frankly, it's what I like to call creative verticals. It's basically just a different style of creatives we like to use for brands when we're testing. All right. So I've listed out some verticals you can leverage and implement into your brand straight away. Do these verticals even before you start running ads. If you don't have these, don't run ads, right? Number one is flat lays. So obviously, I'm going to give you an example after this. Flat lays are basically just product flat lays where you just have it on the ground. You've probably seen them. Number two is model pictures, studio shoots, professional shoots, actual models, right? Number three is lifestyle. Usually these type of stuff, are actually not meant to look like ads. That's why it works so well. Okay, lifestyle / UGC. Number four is static ads, so any creative, I guess these are raw creatives, okay? And we can make static creatives using these, right? Text, highlighting like USP, UVP, like the edits, the text on creatives, all that type of stuff. And number five, no video, because videos are so hard to leverage, okay? Let me explain. Because I'm going to go explain why volume is important. Video, especially for a small brand, it's so hard to replicate and make high volume. It's going to take too much time. The variation change is too little, right? Meaning it's so hard to replicate. And quite frankly, we need volume. We need to test the right variable. We need to test the product at a fast pace to scale than ads. We don't have 2, 3, 5 years running this, right? Obviously, once we do get any more cash flow, video is going to be very important to scaling, just because we have different content creators we can use, stuff like that. But at the start, I recommend just using static images for now and just leverage these verticals, right? Number three is volume. This is super important because different verticals are better. Okay, let me explain on this, right? I would rather you have a brand before you start running ads having 3 of each rather than just 50 of the flat lay. Just because, again, the vertical of the flat lay may not work, and after that we have nothing else to test, right? So the more different verticals you have, the better. Creatives that can be replicated. This is why I like flat lays, right? It only works for some certain type of brands that have a really good product and really good positioning, right? But creatives that can be replicated is so good because this is how we horizontally scale, all right? We don't want any creatives that are very impossible to replicate, because again, that's that, right? And number three is volumes and variations as well. So obviously more the better, right? So instead of 3, if we have 10 of each, it's going to be better, more testing, more variables, and we don't waste any times, okay? Like, other than creators as well, I'll move this one here. Have a brand, something that people can actually relate to in your specific niche, all right? Just having creators of the product and AI is literally not going to cut it, right? If you think you're going to get sales from just print on demand, you don't even know the quality of your products, you haven't even felt your products yourself, you haven't taken any pictures of your products, and you just all use AI, you're not going to get sales. I'm going to say it's impossible to get sales. All right, there are so many clothing brands. I've seen clothing brands scam. You need to build the trust, and we build the trust through the creative verticals, and we can get them to buy your state, which is the mindset and the emotion of them getting to buy and trust you through the actual creatives when we run ads. Okay, so some examples of creatives, right? Have at least 4 different verticals at quality before running ads. I recommend this. Super important. Okay, so if you don't have any of these, don't run ads. Cool. So this is an example from the brand Comfort. This is a great example of a static ad, right? Cuddle, cloud blanket, improve sleep, reduce anxiety, enhance focus. This is a static ad, so a text. The UVP here, so the unique value proposition of the actual product, and the USP, so unique selling point, right? The benefits of the product: improve sleep, reduce anxiety, enhance focus, right? Very good. Sad Boy Saga, another, I guess, static ads. These work very well as well, especially attacking angles. These type of ads are my favorite because we can make so many of these, especially in Canva, literally Canva, right? You can make these in Canva, like 50, 100 of these in a week, right? And we can test out different angles. And what I mean by angles is just a different, the positioning of the brand, right? So this one here is trust, right? Meet the shoe that sold out 5x. If you read that and you see that already builds trust towards a brand, because again, this brand is they sold out the shoe 5x, and it also creates fear of missing out on the next one, right? Introducing strawberry milks, plus the quality of the creatives. Like, look at these quality of the creatives. It's very clean, right? It builds trust as well, right? Cool. This is an example of flat lay, so one of our brands. I think we closed out around nearly 100,000 with just this single image, literally. Right, with the ROAS of at the start 10-15x, right? And this is a lifestyle UGC pick, right? Something where it doesn't look like an ad, but it's very, very powerful, right? Especially if you have the right UGC, I guess the right ICP that's actually wearing your product, it can work very well, right? Without this text, this would almost be a studio shoot. All right, so hopefully you understand the different verticals. All right, yeah. So after we understand the different verticals together and actually have the right creatives to actually make and everything, we're actually going to go to the actual campaign structure for Meta Ads, right? So just follow me, okay? Structure for a brand that has never run ads before, okay? We're going to run one campaign at a CBO level, so that means a campaign budget optimization, meaning we're letting Facebook spend the dollars distribution in the campaign level. We're gonna have one ad set, right? And then in that ad set, we're going to have 4 to 6 ads, which are going to be all different verticals, okay? What this is actually gonna do is let Facebook, because again, Facebook is smarter than all of us, okay? We want to use their system, we want to use their AI system to sort of figure out what vertical/angle works best and resonates with our niche, right? So we're letting Facebook handle that, and then we're gonna optimize it manually, okay? But in this, I'm gonna show you how to exactly make this, all right? Okay, so once you're in an ad account, okay, it's pretty simple. It's gonna shock you because this process is literally just gonna take 5 to 10 minutes, right? You wanna press create, all right? So create a new campaign, we're gonna go to sales, all right? 100% of the time, the only different, I guess, campaign objective you will use is leads for email, and that's about it, okay? Do not use anything else, please. Cool, all right, we'll put here, campaign level, just name this, ideally you wanna name this a CBO campaign, CBO, and then put test, right? Just so you know it is a campaign budget optimization campaign, and you're testing your creatives, right? Budget strategy, make sure this is at the campaign budget, and ideally you want to start at least of minimum from $15, right? So I'm just gonna just leave it on 25, but ideally $15 a day. All right, cool. After that, everything is done. Right? That's everything you need to do for the campaign level, right? So let's go into the ad level. Sorry, I'm at the ad set level, right? You want to name this how many verticals you have. So for example, if you're putting 4 different verticals, meaning 4 different creatives, I'll put 4 verticals, right? Cool. Conversion location, I would 100% recommend website. All right, click website. Performance goal, you want to maximize the number of conversions, not value of conversions. Okay, those are very 2 different things. Data set, you want to go and actually link your actual pixel, which obviously has a conversion API on it, right? Budget and schedule, audience, placements, leave everything on. Trust me. Okay, leave everything on. Okay, now let's go into the ad level and see what we need to do. Okay, once you're in the ad level, usually I would like to name it just 1, all right, because you're going to have 4 verticals, so 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you want to be more specific, you can name the verticals as well. So if this is a flat lay, name it flat lay. All right. So identity, you want to have your face, the correct Facebook page and the correct Instagram account connected. Don't worry too much about threads profile and branding. Just leave that on. It's not going to matter at all. Okay. Media setup. We want to make sure it's set up at manual upload, right? And format. It just depends, right? Usually, if you have one flat lay, you want to go single image or video. And if you have carousel, obviously click carousel. All right. Again, we're not going to do videos, but we're going to single. All right. Turn multi-advertiser ads on. All right. You can read the description here, right? I've tested this multiple times with multiple brands. It seems to be working the best. All right. And for destination, this is super important, right? So obviously for this example, I am going to put a flat lay in for a specific product. Okay. So make sure the URL actually goes to the product page for the product, right? Not the home page, not the collection page, the product page. Okay. Do not do anything else, please. All right. Browser add-ons, press none. All right. And then this is the add creative here. This is where we add in the actual creative. Okay. So you just press setup creative, image add, creative setup. Just leave everything off. Okay. Just leave everything off. I'm just going to add in a random image for now. Okay. Okay, cool. So I've selected this. Okay. I'm just going to use this as flat lay, for example. You want to turn off the flexible media, all right, and go square, vertical, horizontal, all in original, okay? Click next, and this is where the copy is, okay? So let me explain. So copy, I'm going to be honest with you, isn't too important, and the people may disagree, but from what we've tested, copy literally is important. What's going to do the selling and what's going to get the conversion is the actual creatives and branding and product, okay? This is super important. So for primary text, you got to think about it. If you have an offer, put the offer. Okay. If you don't, I would try and leverage what you have in terms of unique selling point and the value proposition. So let's just say we have no offer going, but our hat. So we have uploaded hat flat lay. So what could actually resonate in your niche? In this niche specifically, especially in the streetwear, we're really good in quality. All right. So we would mention the quality. So for example, if you're doing a T, 300 GSM, right? And product name. In the middle one, I always like to add the trust, right? So trust aspect shopped by over 1,000 customers, right? If you don't have that acquisition yet, just say trusted. I would bring trust by selling at one of our best selling products, because again, that also builds trust, leveraging what you have, right? And 3, I would sort of add urgency, so that's fear of missing out. Only 30 products available. Okay, and what I like to do is put the bottom of the primary text into the actual headline like this. All right, and call to action, you always want to do shop now. All right, because we want them to buy, not learn more about your product. Okay, logical, right? Next, skip and continue. Literally just turn everything off and then skip and continue. All right, so enhancement, I literally just want you to turn everything off. All right, everything off. And you just do that. Have to do it manually because it's stupid. All right, and you press done. Boom. Okay. So make sure you have a product URL. Okay. Make sure this actually goes to the specific product, and make sure you double check. All right. Cool. Now, obviously, you're gonna have to add different verticals and different ads. What I want you to do is click the 3 dots. Right. Quickly duplicate. Right. And you get a new ad. Copy. Right. So for the second ad, right. So the second vertical, I want you to just go to. Let's just say you're doing a model. Right, model here, and I want you to delete this and then add in a new media. Same thing, same copy, same headline. Just if you're doing a different product, make sure the website URL changes. Okay, super simple. Add the verticals, publish it. All right, publish it. Okay. Now, sort of going back here, after we publish this setup, we want to spend at least minimum of 1.5 to 2x of the collection average order value or product average order value. So for example, if that hat costed $50, right, we want to at least spend around $100 on the overall campaign before we make any single decision, or even before we even look at the ad. I don't want you to even look at the ad before you spend at least 1.5x or 2x of the product or collection. Obviously, if you're advertising different products in it, I would calculate through collections. So basically just add all the product prices up and divide it by how many products, and that's your average order value of the collection. Okay. Now, obviously let it run for 100 days, right? And get in the mindset of, hey, we're just going to run this just to figure out what we need to do, right? So we're actually going to go dig deeper into what creative slash KPIs we need to analyze. All right. Okay, so analyzing on KPIs, this is probably going to be important. So we know what to do after we've spent this. You're like, okay, so we spent $100. Like, what do I do after? Like, what do we do, right? So first of all, we need to understand what our plan is. Okay, so analyzing KPI. Our whole plan for this is to eventually restructure the ad campaign through our new data we're going to get from this and change it to ABO. All right, so ABO is basically what we call an ad budget optimization, meaning we're able to spend the ad dollars and it's going to spend directly in the ads level. What that specifically does is we're able to control the verticals on spending evenly, right? But before we do that, the whole point of this was to get data on, I guess, to make sure we don't waste time, we don't waste money on what vertical to test first, right? So from this campaign structure that we've launched, right, make sure it's spent a minimum of 1.5 to 2x of the collection or average order value of product value, right? First thing when you look at it is return of ad spend, right? Number one, did it hit your break-even ROAS, right? If it did, keep it running, right? It's you're not losing money on it. You're selling products. You are getting data. There's no value from it. There's no disadvantages from it, right? If it's below break-even ROAS, calculate how many sales are away, right? So for example, if our break-even ROAS is 1.5, for example, and we're at 1.2, that means we're one sale away, right? For this instant, I would keep running this campaign, right? But if our break-even was 1.5 and we're at 0.3, I would kill it, right? Meaning turn the campaign off. We have the right data. We do it anyways, right? You also want to identify, is there a specific ad that has the highest return of ad spend, right? We also want to look at this because it shows an anomaly and we can use that vertical to make our new campaign, okay? The second metric we want to look for is the actual spending pattern, right? Identify the spending pattern. Is there an ad that is getting majority of spend, right? So for example, if you look at this campaign here, right? This ad set here. So obviously this is the ad level, all right? This is an ad set, all right? So we spent 3.2k on Facebook, spending 3.2k on this, and the rest $2 and $13, right? So that is an anomaly of spend, okay? That shows a sign that Facebook is favoring a specific vertical or specific creative in this instance because we split it into different verticals, right? This is the whole reason why we split up like this, right? So is there a spending pattern? If there is, that is a green flag for that specific vertical. And then we also want to check our unique outbound click-through, right? Static images, we want anything about 1%. If it's below 1% of a specific vertical, that's a red flag. If there is any ad or such vertical in this instance, in percentages, obviously, if it's above 5%, 6%, stuff like that, that is also a green flag, okay? So, 3 metrics when you look at it. I kept this very simple. So the ROAS, right? Spending pattern, unique outbound. So from this, I'm going to quickly explain to you what our whole goal is, okay? So let's just say I'm going to do 4, okay? So we have vertical 1, vertical 2, vertical 3, and vertical 4, okay? As an example. Okay, first, when you look at the individual ad and identify the anomaly in return of ad spend, right? So let's just say vertical 1 got a ROAS of 0 because it hasn't got a sale. Vertical 2 got a ROAS of 1.1. Vertical 3 got a ROAS of 2. And then let's just say vertical 4 got a ROAS of 0. Okay, so very simple. Let's just say this got a ROAS of 2 because it's got spent the most, right? And then let's just say this unique outbound click-through rate for this one, just very, very hypothetical, is 3%, which the rest is below, at 1% or below, all right? Cool, so from this theoretical data, what I would do is basically just take these 2 verticals out, right? And then basically be in the position where we have more variables where we can work with. So as I said, volume control, volume in variation as well. So let's just say it's flat lays, different flat lays, and then I would make a whole new campaign, obviously you can run this down if it's very profitable, but if it's not, shut it down, okay? And run a whole new campaign where you set it to an ad set level, okay? Before I actually explain to you how to do this, I want you to understand as well that even if we get no sales, obviously the ROAS doesn't count because we've got no sales, so there's no ROAS. But these two metrics I also want you to look at, right? I want you to choose at least 2 verticals out of how many verticals you added to run this new campaign, okay? So spending pattern, is there a specific vertical within 1 to 6, verticals you've chosen that's getting the most spend? That is a green flag. Is there a vertical that's getting the most highest outbound click-through rate? All right, so if there's no ROAS to determine it, then make sure you look at these 2 metrics, okay? Yeah, it's pretty simple, all right? So create, you wanna go sales, continue, okay? And then from here, literally, it's the ad set budget and the same thing, all right? And make sure to turn this off, okay? It's that simple. And I want you to run that same principle for the spending, minimum 1.5, 2x AOV, and the cut and paste, meaning keep testing different verticals, okay? At the end of the day, you gotta understand the true KPI analysis, right? Do not run ads if you're using your last $500 and expect to scale your brand to the moon. Like, be realistic, all right? Think logically, right? I would rather you have a budget where you're comfortably spending $300 every single month until we scale to build an ad system where it is profitable, right? You gotta have to realize that even if we don't get sales, we're getting valuable insights where we can improve on the brand every single day. Like, for example, even if this new campaign that we launched on the ABO doesn't get sale, we have a better direction on what creatives work, what type of variation works, because we split it into different verticals and we're testing it at individual levels, okay? So, obviously this is a campaign structure. It's gonna make you money if you do it the right way, but most of your sales is actually gonna come from how well we develop this, okay? So, if you guys have questions, just give me a message on Instagram. It's pretty simple, and yeah, hope this helps you guys a bit.